Hello students, today in this video we are going to learn about machines, which is a topic of class 10th physics. It is a common experience that it is easy to open a nut by using a wrench rather than by hand. There are many such examples where the simple machines have made our lives easy. Lever, pulley, wheel and axle, inclined plane, wedge, screw. These are some examples of simple machines which we have around us, which have made our lives easy, our jobs easy. Now let us study the few functions and uses of simple machines. A machine acts as a force multiplier. We have to apply very less effort to lift a heavy load. For example, a wheelbarrow. A wheelbarrow is a simple machine which acts as a force multiplier. As you can see in the figure, the boy is able to lift heavy load of the logs just by using the simple machine wheelbarrow. A machine also changes the point of application of force to a convenient point. In a bicycle, we pedal the bicycle from the center of the two wheels. Why the pedal is not put in the center of the wheel, one wheel, the rear wheel? Reason is that is inconvenient. The chain here, which is acting as a pulley, has shifted the point of application of force to a very convenient place. The chain is the simple machine here. Also, machine changes the direction of effort to a convenient direction. Taking out water from a well by directly lifting up the bucket is very difficult. Instead of that, if we use a single fixed pulley, which is our simple machine here, the rope, when it is put across the pulley, the loose end of the rope can be pulled in the downward direction. And thus, we have the bucket coming out of the well in a very convenient manner. Here we may also use our own weight as effort. A machine also gives us gain in speed, that is, a greater movement of load by a smaller movement of effort. You can see that for a small displacement of the handles of the scissors, the displacement of the blades of the scissors is very large. So here we call it, the function of the machine is called as giving gain in speed. Now let us study about a few terms related to simple machines. First is effort. Effort is the force that we apply on the machine. An effort is the force applied to a machine to do work. Load. Load is the force, it's the resistive or the opposing force which is to be overcome by the machine. So on the load, machine does work. Then we have fulcrum, a fixed point about which the machine can turn. The simple machine is pivoted on a point that is called fulcrum. For every machine, we have to define its mechanical advantage. Depending upon the mechanical advantage of the simple machine, we can tell its use, whether it is used as a force multiplier or it will be used for changing the direction of effort to a convenient direction, or it will give us gain in speed. So what is mechanical advantage? It is the ratio of the load to the effort. Ratio of the load to the effort is called mechanical advantage. In case of levers, the mechanical advantage is taken as the ratio of effort arm over load arm. For a machine, if mechanical advantage is greater than 1, in that case, the machine acts as a force multiplier. If mechanical advantage for a machine is equal to 1, then the machine only changes the direction of application of effort to a convenient direction. If the mechanical advantage for a machine is less than 1, then it gives us gain in speed. Next term, which is very important related to simple machines, is velocity ratio. Now, as the name suggests, it will be the ratio of velocities. So whose velocity? It is the ratio of velocity of effort to velocity of load. Velocity of effort to velocity of load. And we know that formula for velocity is distance upon time. If we find out the ratio of velocity for a fixed time period, then our formula comes out to be velocity ratio is equal to dE over dL, where dE stands for displacement of effort and dL stands for displacement of load. Velocity ratio for a machine is fixed. It does not change. It's a fixed quantity for a given machine. And since it is the ratio of two similar quantities, calculating velocity ratio, we do not need a unit. Velocity ratio has no unit. Just like mechanical advantage. Mechanical advantage also has no unit. Now, what about the functions of machine? If velocity ratio for a machine is greater than 1, then it works as a force multiplier. If velocity ratio for a machine is less than 1, then it gives gain in speed. Velocity ratio is equal to 1, it generally changes the direction of effort to a convenient direction. These were few terms related to simple machines. The other few terms are efficiency of a machine, the ratio of the work done on the load by the machine to the work done on the machine by the effort is called efficiency of a machine. How much efficient your machine is will be understood by noticing that how much effort we have to apply to do work on the load. So we define efficiency, the formula as efficiency is equal to work output over work input. Work output means how much work we are doing on the load. Load is the force here, and displacement of the load you calculate. We know that work done is equal to force into displacement. So work output will be load into displacement of load. Then work input, what is the force which is given as the input on the machine? The force given is effort. So here work input formula will be effort into displacement of effort. Now let us see what is the principle on which a simple machine works. We are going to define the principle of a machine for an ideal machine. Ideal machine which will give us 100% efficiency. For an ideal machine, the principle is the output energy supplied should be equal to the input energy. Output energy should be equal to the input energy. Let us find out the relationship between efficiency, mechanical advantage, and velocity ratio. If we start with the formula of efficiency, then we know that efficiency here will be denoted by eta. It is a Greek letter, eta. Efficiency eta is equal to, here eta, which is the denotion for efficiency, is equal to work output over work input. And in this case, work output upon work input, which is equal to load into displacement of load upon effort into displacement of effort. Load is written as capital L, displacement of load is written as dl, effort E, displacement of effort dE. If we solve it further, we separate the two ratios, then we will write L by E into dL by dE, which is equal to L by E into 1 upon dE by dL. This dL, which was in the numerator, is brought to the denominator of dE. This is equal to MA upon VR. Thus, our formula for efficiency is equal to MA upon VR. Let us now study the types of simple machines. First type of simple machine that we will study is lever. So what is a lever? A lever is a rigid straight bar which is capable of turning about a fixed point. Any straight bar of this type is considered as a lever. On one end of the lever, we will apply effort. On the other end, you will put the load. The fulcrum is in the center, or it can be, depending upon the type of lever, the position of fulcrum will change. Let us study the types of levers now. Kinds of levers: first class lever, second class lever, and third class lever. What is the difference between the three? For class 1 lever, the fulcrum will be in the center of the effort and the load. For class 2 lever, the fulcrum is on one end, load is in the center, and effort is on another end. Class 3 lever, effort will be applied in the center, fulcrum is on one end of the lever, and the load is on the other end. Let us study class 1 lever. Now, in class 1 type of lever, you can see the various examples. For example, a crowbar is a class 1 lever. What is so specific about these class 1 levers? Which lever will be called as a class 1 lever? The lever for which the fulcrum will be in the center of the lever. In between the load and the effort, we have the fulcrum. Now, it is not necessary that the fulcrum will be exactly in the midpoint between the load and the effort, but the load and the effort are on the either side of the fulcrum. Just see, for a crowbar, the fulcrum is very near to the load, whereas the effort applied is at a distance. So here we can see that the effort applied is at a larger distance from the fulcrum. This distance between the effort and the fulcrum is called effort arm. The distance between the fulcrum and the load is called the load arm. So what will be the mechanical advantage for class 1 lever? Mechanical advantage is equal to effort arm upon load arm. Since here the effort arm is greater than the load arm, so we will see that this crowbar has mechanical advantage greater than 1. Then for scissors, you can see the fulcrum is in between the load and the effort, but the fulcrum is near to the effort, whereas the load is at a larger distance from the fulcrum. So in this case, we have the load arm greater than the effort arm. Therefore, mechanical advantage for this type of class 1 lever, that is for scissors, mechanical advantage will be less than 1, because here the denominator is greater. Now for a seesaw, you can see the two boys sitting on the seesaw. Both are at equal distance from the fulcrum. So here the fulcrum is at the midpoint of the load and the effort. Therefore, mechanical advantage will be equal to 1. Why? Because effort arm is equal to load arm. Let us see class 2 levers. In class 2 lever, mechanical advantage will always be more than 1. For example, a wheelbarrow. The fulcrum is at one end. Load which is kept in this container is in the center, and the effort applied is at the other end. What is the ratio of effort arm to load arm? The effort arm, the distance of the point from where the effort is applied to the point where we have the fulcrum, that is the distance between the effort and the fulcrum. This distance is greater than the distance between the load and the fulcrum. So for class 2 levers, the mechanical advantage will always be more than 1, because a lever in which this condition will persist, or this condition we get, that the mechanical advantage is more than 1, or the load is between the fulcrum and the effort, we will find this condition always, that the load arm will be less than the effort arm. Therefore, for class 2 levers, mechanical advantage will always be more than 1. You cannot obtain mechanical advantage less than 1 or equal to 1 for class 2 levers. It is only class 1 lever where we get mechanical advantage equal to 1, greater than 1, or less than 1. Next example, we have this nutcracker. If you see the nutcracker, the nut which is acting as the load is in between the fulcrum and the effort. Here also, your load arm is shorter and the effort arm is longer. Therefore, you get mechanical advantage greater than 1. Now for a bottle opener, you see this cap. On this cap, the opener is held tightly, so it becomes the fulcrum. Point 2 is the opener is attached to the cap of the bottle. So this point is giving you the load. This point you are having the load, and the effort is applied at the end of the opener. So this also shows us that the load arm is shorter than the effort arm. Therefore, a bottle opener is also a class 2 lever. For class 3 levers, let us study class 3 levers. For these type of lever, in class 3 lever, the mechanical advantage is always less than 1. The example is a stapler. In a stapler, we see that the paper which is to be stapled is kept at the end of the stapler. So that acts as our load. You are putting your finger very near to the load to press this onto the pin, onto the paper, so that the pin gets inserted in the paper. So you apply effort very near to the load, whereas the fulcrum is on the other end of the stapler. So here your load is on one end, fulcrum is on the other end, and the effort very near to the load is in between the fulcrum and the load. We can see that the load arm is greater, the effort arm is shorter. Therefore, mechanical advantage, which is equal to effort arm upon load arm, will always be less than 1, because the denominator, the load arm, is greater. Therefore, for a class 3 lever, the mechanical advantage is always less than 1. Same is the case for a fishing rod, and you can see the tongs also. The mechanical advantage, if calculated, will always comes out to be less than 1 for class 3 lever. So 3 classes of levers we studied: class 1, class 2, class 3. Let us study a few more examples in our daily lives where we can see the types of levers. So here is the example. First class lever, rowing a boat. In both the figures, you see people rowing a boat. Here, one man is rowing the boat. Then what is the difference between the two? The difference is that here the person who is rowing the boat is holding the oar from one end, and the point at the edge of the boat at which the handle of the oar is resting acts as the fulcrum. So, and what is the load? The load is the water which the person is pushing back to move his boat in the forward direction. This is the case. This type of rowing a boat, which is a leisure rowing a boat, is giving us first class lever. So this type of long handle oar used for rowing a boat by a single person acts as a lever of class 1. Whereas in the other figure, you can see that many people are rowing the boat in unison. Together, they are rowing the boat. But here, they want to obtain gain in speed because they are participating in a boat race and they have to win the boat race. So, what type of lever this oar is acting here? Here, the oar is acting as a class 3 lever. First of all, the difference is between the class 1 lever, that the oar is a short handle oar. The oar it is not a long handle oar. It is a short handle oar. It is used by the boatmen in boat races. The one end of the oar, which the person is holding, acts as the fulcrum. Water on the other end of the oar acts as the load, and with The second hand, the person applies effort in the middle of the oar. Therefore, here the oar, which is a short handle oar, is acting as a class 3 lever. Now let us see, we have levers as found in human body also. First is class 1 lever. Class 1 lever in the action of nodding of head. When you nod your head, the spine acts as the fulcrum. The load is at the front part near your chin, while the effort is at the rear part. Thus, this is an example of class 1 lever. Class 2 lever. In class 2 lever, we raise the weight of our body on the toes. The weight of the body is raised on the toes. Where is the fulcrum? The fulcrum is at the toes at one end. The load, that is the weight of the body, is in the middle, and the effort E, the effort is given provided by the muscles at the other end. Thus, this is an example of class 2 lever. Class 3 lever. In raising a load by forearm. So here the figure shows the action of the biceps. The elbow joints acts as the fulcrum at one end. Biceps exert the force in the middle, and the load on the palm is at the other end. Thus, this is an example of class 3 lever. So we can see that we have examples of each class of lever as found in the human body. So here we come to the end of our video. Thank you.